that sort of thing?
Yeah, most of them they've got probably good guests like Fani de Villas have been there. Graham Pollock was there for the betting, and good people with lectures as well in between of them.
What have you learnt from their lectures, Victor?
A bit of business, and that's about it. Yeah.
Do they teach at the academy? We know that obviously they teach cricket, but do they also try to teach like dealing with the media and interviews and stuff like that?
Yeah, they actually every Tuesdays we have Brian, a fella called Brian. He does that in apparently every week. Every Thursdays we go out to go down, and you have like after dinner speeches. Yeah.
Is this your first interview live on television?
No, it's actually about my second or third. I'm not sure anymore.
Sounds like it. Coming along great. Thanks very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Jack. Bye.
Robin Jackman down there with Victor Umputsang from the Academy in South Africa, along the lines of the much fated Australian Cricket Academy, which is headed by former wicketkeeper Rodney Marsh, and in fact next week Shane Warne, who's doing some commentary with us this week, and Gavin Robertson playing in the Australian side will be there for a week for the Spin Bowlers Week. So as we await the South Africans to come into the field, this is what happened when the South Africans were sent into bat.
Asphalt bowling straight, the old saying, if the batsman misses, the bowler hits, was amply demonstrated there. Mike Grindle holding out to deep mid-wicket, trying to get going because he got 20 of 22 deliveries. You need to score at more than a run a ball in this version of the game. And then Alex Tate coming in the bowl. Justin Kemp holding out at short third man, going for a big hit. New Zealand had bowled well till then, and then suddenly Dave Callahan got going, but not before Tate got another wicket. Straight down deep mid-wicket's throw that one. Full toss. The batsman was entitled to think that he had 6 runs in the bag. Instead, he lost his wicket.
Well, the curating staff just doing all the work out on the centre pitch, but just down on the boundary line, Robin Jackman has with him the man that no one can hit.
Indeed, indeed, Chris Harris. And Chris, you'll be pleased to hear that Shane Warne thought you were bowling some really lovely little leg spinners out there. Tell me, how long have you worked at this huge change of pace? Because when I first saw you bowl, not many years ago, but a few years ago, you were pretty much medium pace, but seam up and that sort of thing. You're working very hard at change of pace now, or have been.
Yeah, I've worked really hard on the top spinner and not so much on the leg spinner. But yeah, I mean, really the selectors came to me after a tour, which I thought I did quite well in, and basically said, we don't want you to take the ball into the right-hander anymore, we want you to try and take it away. And I said, with my action, I can't bowl outswingers, so I just, tried to roll my fingers over it, and it sort of, was pretty effective in New Zealand conditions. And I guess I've adapted it to work reasonably well in one-day cricket and other conditions now as well. So it's really because, I guess it's because I bowl so slow that the batsman has to sort of make his own pace, and that's what probably makes it look more difficult than it is.
Yeah, the pitch is, I guess, pretty important to the type of bowling that you do. You find it more comfortable, as you say, in New Zealand and maybe in Asia than you would do perhaps at the MCG.
Yeah, I'd rather it turned off the pitch than out of my wrist, because it doesn't do much out of my wrist. But yeah, I guess obviously the slower the wicket really, and the wickets that hold up obviously suit my bowling a little bit more, because as I said, it's a little bit harder for the batsman to to make his own pace.
Okay, back to this game. South Africa 126. That's pretty manageable in most people's minds, would it be?
Yeah, well, I mean, going from the first game, from the way Australia bat, it should be. We obviously had probably one over that went for a few too many, but hopefully we'll be confident that we'll, with a good start, that we can knock those over.
Will you be required to strap them on, Chris, do you think?
Well, I'm batting 5. There's probably a good chance the way most of our guys play and the way we played in Sri Lanka, we look to go to cow corner a bit. There's a pretty good chance that I'll be needed at some stage.
Okay, well, not too much about Sri Lanka. So it's a disappointing series for you guys. You went 1 up, I believe, and then lost the last 2. But the experience of playing out there, is that something that young players can learn a tremendous amount from?
Yeah, well, it was quite good in some ways, because none of the guys needed their helmets. They sort of opened the test with spinners, so that was quite interesting. And the wickets were a little bit more drier, if you like, and did a little bit more, their spinners, than we expected, or than we hoped for, and so it made it quite difficult really. And they just had basically in outfields, they had guys around the bat and guys out in the boundary, so it it made it pretty difficult for us to score effectively, and obviously we struggled.
Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us. You look like you need a nice cold shower right now.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you
David.
very much, Chris.
Okay, cheers.
Robin Jackman down there with Chris Harris. New Zealand won the toss, sent South Africa into bat. They completed their allocated 14 overs for 126 for 4. Thanks to that stunning little cameo from Dave Callaghan, 33 from just 9 deliveries. And no doubt Dave Callaghan will rue the fact that he didn't come in earlier in the innings and should, I think, bat in the first 3 from now on. They play Pakistan later today. So 126 for 4, and Craig Spearman just counting the fieldsmen as we welcome Shane Warne back into the commentary box. Shane, Dave Callaghan seemed a bit wasted down the order.
Yeah, I think they lost the wicket with about 6 overs to go or something. I thought Dave Callaghan probably should have come in then, give himself a lot more time, but I think you made the point about him batting in the top 3 is a very valid one. He's obviously their most experienced player and should get in space the most deliveries.
So Dave Townsend opening the bowling for South Africa. Nice gentle little outswinger, and there it is. Craig Spearman just showing Nathan Astill at the other end that the ball just left him.
We've talked about this morning, Dave, about how hard it is for the bowlers. And the one thing that they have got going in the first few overs is the ball is actually swinging a little bit because of the humid conditions. So they'll be looking to exploit that.
And these two did so well in the Caribbean in 1996, Spearman and Astill. It's just been a surprise that they've gone downhill since then. They really struggled against Australia, Shane, and yeah, they came off a wonderful series in the West Indies, where perhaps with the rain saved the West Indies on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, I think these two, they've played a lot of cricket together, and I think they're probably the best opening partnership New Zealand have got, and they should stick with them. And as you talked about, they did well in the West Indies and have done very well throughout the last couple of years.
And good delivery, just a good length, but perhaps the inside edge onto the leg. No signal from the umpire. So both batsmen away with a single to start their innings.
See a very good line and length, and that's what we talk about. Just a little bit of hint of away, and just Nathan Astill getting an inside edge, and lucky enough it didn't hit his leg rather than going onto the stumps.
So 3 men inside the circle. That's the fielding restrictions for the first half of the match. And good bounce, and having to take it up chest high. We heard both Greg Blewett and Brendan Julian say the pitch was pretty good this morning. I think as his sun's come out, Shane, there's good genuine pace and bounce in it.
Yeah, well, Greg was saying that he enjoyed it. We see this ball going away and just keep going and carry on nicely, and that's what you want from a batsman, nice little bit of even bounce and some good pace. And I'll tell you what, the batsman might be in a little bit of trouble if he keeps bowling like that.
We've said it on a couple of occasions, and it's very easy to say it, but I suppose when you look out as a batsman and see hardly any fieldsmen, you think a little bit more aggressively. But the batsmen who've done well today so far, Blewett and Gilchrist, and then Callaghan, have played normal cricket.
Yeah, we saw the South Africans getting a little bit of trouble trying to improvise a bit too much, walking around at the batting crease, and the way the Australian guys played it, especially Greg Blewett, stayed and just played cricket shots, and that's the way to go.
Down leg side, good save. And no wide signalled by the umpire. So at the end of the first over, New Zealand at 3 without loss.
That's a great start by South Africa. Just see the ball just flicking the pad, hence not being called a wide, and a very good stop from the keeper. Diving to his left. Be interesting to see if the New Zealanders actually pace themselves to get to the target, or they actually try and have a bit of a dip at the start.
At the end of the first over, New Zealand 3 runs, no wicket. Chasing South Africa.
Strong side for New Zealand. McMillan, Tate and Chandler to come before Harris, Horn and Drum. And they've played a lot of this Super Max 8 cricket in New Zealand over the last couple of years. So they'll be experienced at chasing totals. That won't worry them. And it's just a matter of what philosophy they will adapt today, and whether 126 is a good score or a medium score. It's probably going to take us 2 or 3 games to work that out. Australia getting 100 off just 7 overs. And Mulligan George to bowl to Spearman.
Both these players are very strong square of the wicket, They like playing the cut shot through backward point. And you know, make sure you've got to keep the ball up and get these two blokes driving. That's the best way to bowl to these two.
So 3 men inside the circle, cover, short fine leg and mid-on, these three fieldsmen. And good pace and bounce again. And once again, we see the batsman trying to do something just a little bit different than what he would normally do. And if he just stayed in his crease, Shane, and played his own shot, well, he would have glided it down or perhaps played a legitimate touch shot.
Yeah, that's right. You see the delivery just getting a little bit of bounce, just nice, true, but just backing away a little bit to leg stump, trying to give himself some room. And as we talked about before, the best way to score runs is to actually play cricket shots.
And that's the length that Shane Warne was talking about. Get both Astle and Spearman attempting to drive. They're very much their weight on their back foot when they drive.
See there, exactly what you talk about, David. The weight is on the back foot because they like to play square of the wicket. So it's Mulligan's bowling very well there. That's the spot they've got to bowl full and get them driving.
Particularly with the ball just swinging a little bit. Sure, they're probably not going to be rewarded with too many edges with no slips, but you can't do anything about that. Bit short, and allowing for the strength of Astle. So just letting the pressure off. And Shane, you've captained Australia, you've captained Victoria, and that's the worst thing that you can see as a captain, just the pressure being taken off by a bad delivery.
Exactly right. We see Nathan playing to his strength there, square of the wicket, and he just bowled a good delivery, and I'm sure Mulligan George will know that he's made a mistake. Now he's got to make sure he gets back and say, you know, not curse himself too much, just go back and say, I know what I have to do. Just be confident in what you're doing and go up and put it up there.
And that's just seen back nicely. And Astle not playing with the straight bat. It's the wry smile. He probably realises he's a bit lucky to be there.
That hasn't missed the off stump by a hell of a lot, that, David. That's another coat of varnish stuff.
So still need around about 10 runs per over. Yet to lose a wicket. And that'll be a wide. So Mulligan George probably saw Astle come down and go towards the leg side. Probably would have been better off spearing it in at the stumps.
Ball didn't help him, it just swung away to make it look worse. And we haven't seen a no ball, I don't think yet, David. I'm waiting for a no ball to see what sort of delivery their bowler will bowl when they've actually got a free hit. It'll be interesting if they try and bowl a bit of a short delivery or what sort of delivery the bowler actually will bowl.
And again, too short, but getting away with it because the extra bounce just forced Astle up on his toes to squeeze it to backward point. So the end of over number 2, New Zealand have wandered along to 12 without loss.
I think the South Africans is a very good start for them, the first couple of overs. Just 12 off the first 2. It's a pretty good start for South Africa. These guys are just starting to find the pace of the wicket, find the bounce, and just get used to the conditions. And I'm sure these two guys have just about seen enough now. They might have a bit of a dip.
So third over about to begin. And getting away with a wayward delivery, just hitting the pad of Spearman. And there you see Craig Spearman trying to recreate what he would have liked to have done.
Because they like to play so square of the wicket, they sometimes get a bit cramped when the ball's on middle stump because they're trying to give themselves room to hit square, both of these players. So if he can continue on that line and length, I think he'll probably do pretty well.
And good delivery, and that's a big shout. Did it hit the front pad or the back pad is what Townsend's asking the umpire. And a leg by signalled by the Australian umpire, but worth a big shout.
A very full delivery. Just starts to swing, and I think it hit, maybe both pads are on the back foot, but it looked like it was going down the leg side, and the correct decision from Simon Torfel from New South Wales.
And that's the strength too of both these players. Full on leg stump is going to go wide of mid-on, particularly in the air with no fieldsman. And Astle hits his second boundary today.
He just picked that up nice and clean off the toes. Just swung through the line and the vacant area out there. See his foot, just the back foot, give himself a little bit of room just to clear the fielder there mid-on.
And I don't think Nathan Astle could have swung any harder than that. He swung himself out of his cricket boots and, in fact, forced one hand off the bat handle.
He'll be very disappointed with that. It is his favourite shot, and probably tried to hit that as hard as he possibly can. And as you said, Dave, that's what caused him to miss the ball.
Outfield not lightning fast because of the heavy conditions, but still with the timing that Astle has, he doesn't need to play it like that. And premeditating a charge will give him a couple of runs.
That shot, I think, was a bit of frustration from missing the cut shot the previous delivery. Just very angry with himself, Nathan Astle, and decided that he was going to hit this one as far as he could. Just swung across the line and beat the infielder for 2.
3 men inside the circle. A fine leg, mid-on and point. And cracked towards the mid-off. So 8 runs from the Townsend over. New Zealand at 20 without loss after 3 overs.
The 8 runs off the over there. Just going along quietly here at the moment, New Zealand. Not a bad start, nothing fantastic, but just basically getting a feel for the conditions. It is very, very humid out there. The wicket's playing pretty well, nice and true. So I'm sure another couple of overs and we might see a few big hits.
At the end of the third over, New Zealand are 21 on a roll.
So no wickets have fallen for New Zealand. New Zealand won the toss, elected to bowl. And so around about square at the moment. South Africa started to lose a few wickets in this situation over the next 4 or 5 overs, and then Dave Callaghan came in at the end and boosted the scoring rate along. So Mulligan George to continue. And nice and full, but that's a great shot over, cover point for 6. So Astle very strong square of the wicket, as we've been saying, either offside or leg side. So that is a terrific cricket shot.
I think that's one of the hardest balls we've seen hit this morning. He just gave himself a little bit of room, open the face of the bat, and that's hit the fence straight through the person's hands on the little child there out on the boundary, and that's hit the fence very, very hard.
So perhaps New Zealand just starting to open their shoulders now. Short, but there is a man at mid-wicket on the fence. And John Kent does the fielding. So you can't have bowlers being inconsistent, full and off stump, then short like that. In fact, in the batsman's half, so short it was. You really need to be consistent in all forms of cricket, but particularly when you haven't got many fieldsmen to support and protect you, you need to be trying to bowl in the same area most of the time. And I think, Shane, with these 2 opening bowlers for South Africa, as just young men, they haven't learnt yet the art of the slower ball and change of pace. We've just seen basically the same pace delivery for each of the times they bowl.
They're probably just feeling that they just want to actually let go of the ball and try and get it up the other end, and I'm sure as the tournament rolls on, they might feel a little bit more confident with trying a few little slower balls or a few of their other variations they've got. And Mulligan George at the moment is doing not a bad job, but as you said, just a little bit inconsistent.
And again, Astle shakes his head. He's missed, Craig Spearman shakes his head. Both batsmen now, Astle there missing, have missed short balls outside off stump. Astle's missed a couple, and Craig Spearman at the other end has missed one as well. And always disappointing as a batsman when you miss what is one of your favourite shots in particular.
looks pretty disappointed too, Nathan.
Well, an easy 2, and just goes to show the size of this cricket ground, Shane. It's not a small ground. It's certainly not an overly big MCG type ground, but it's certainly not a tiny cricket ground like we've seen in some of the grounds up here in Malaysia.
No, I think it's a good size. If you hit a good shot, you'll generally get 4, and if you do hit it, it's not a huge hit over the fence, but if it's still a decent hit, so the bowler has got something in his favour.
And gone past the man who's inside the circle. So John Kent doing the fielding. No, in fact, the ball goes to the boundary because the slide was unsuccessful by Dave Callaghan. So 14 runs from the over. 4 overs gone, 34 for none.
These two guys, they love playing. They love playing the game. They enjoy being out in the middle. And they're very, very competitive, especially Nathan Astle. He likes to be in a challenge and a bit of a battle, and even bowling to him over last season, we had a bit of a good battle over there and enjoyed playing against each other. And these two guys really do enjoy their cricket, so I'm sure they're having a good time out there.
No bowler allowed to bowl more than 3 overs in the Supermax 8 tournament. So to complete his spell, Dave Townsend from the commentary box end. Bowling to Craig Spearman. And Spearman plays that shot very well. No fine legs, so he can just help it on its way, not worried about whether it's in the air or along the ground. And New Zealand just starting to put the foot on the pedal.
Yeah, that ball just sliding down the leg side, a bit too much width, and Craig Spearman just helping that on its way. Not too difficult a shot. New Zealand just starting to pick the pace up a little bit now.
And good save, just a single, the bottom edge.
The last couple of overs, both of these players, as we've talked about, do love the cut shot and play square of the wicket, and they've both just missed out on a couple of opportunities. I think they're, as you said, David, I think they're just trying to hit the ball a little bit too hard. And maybe just trying to hit those red chairs out there very, very hard, knock a few over.
Still only get 4, whether the chair gets knocked over or the ball just rolls over the rope. And that's the line that Shane was talking about, cramping up players who are square of the wicket strong. They may not actually physically move to the leg side to give themselves some room, but their weight certainly goes back, and you see the weight going back towards leg side, and therefore not cramped. They're not looking to come forward, sort of perched on that back foot. So good bowling, and no doubt these young men learning what it's all about against 2 very experienced international opening batsmen. And Dave Callaghan, good catch. So he's rewarded by bowling a length, and Dave Callaghan at point takes the catch. So the first wicket for New Zealand goes. Craig Spearman is the man out, and New Zealand have lost their first wicket in the 5th over.
Very sharp catch there. Played his favourite shot, the cut shot, hit it quite hard. Dave Callaghan just juggles it a little bit, but in the end took the catch, and very disappointed with Craig Spearman. Got 8 runs off 11 deliveries, for 1 for 40.
So Craig Spearman, the man dismissed, as we spoke about. Weight transference not perfect on that cut shot. That's why the cut shot goes in the air to point. And a legitimate out in any form of cricket.
Incoming batsman for New Zealand is McMillan.
So South Africa just putting the brakes on so they would hope with a wicket. Craig McMillan comes to the crease for the Kiwis. Still reeling over the loss in the Bledisloe Cup last week in Melbourne against the Australian Wallabies. The MCG in front of 80,000 people. famous rugby test match between Australia and the Wallabies. Between Australia and New Zealand, I beg your pardon.
Craig McMillan, very confident sort of player, quite a cocky little guy. He likes to back himself, and I'm sure he'll come out here and play some shots.
And a bit of tumbling and falling, and now that's the dead ball. Even though the batsmen weren't attempting a run, Shane, one of the laws that have been brought in for this type of cricket, which I think is a very good law.
Yeah, I think so. It means they can't run an overthrow. We see they just hit the pad, fall over. But once the ball actually hit the stumps, then the decision is made either out or not out. It is a dead ball.
I think it's a very good law, and I've argued this for many years. I think it'll encourage, even in first-class cricket, Shane, for people to throw the ball at the stumps more. How many times have we stopped to throw at the stumps because there's the fear of ricocheting off the stumps?
No one backing up. Those sort of things happen.
End of a successful over for South Africa. New Zealand have lost their first wicket for 40. So Craig Spearman has gone. And Dave Callaghan is the man in charge of a young South African side. Played very well at the bat, did Dave Callaghan. Organising his field. So that's what's happened after 5 overs. 40 without loss, averaging 8 runs per over. And that's not the only thing that's happened after 5 overs. The leg spinner has been replaced by the finger spinner. And Bruce Yardley comes back in. And, well, Bruce, we're still finding it difficult to work out in our minds what is a reasonable total.
Well, it's this is pretty tight. This is a very good contest.
Australia blew our theories out the water.
Yeah, South Africans started slowly, and Callaghan's 33 off 9 deliveries was magnificent, wasn't it? And now they're bowling well. New Zealand were set about 9 and over, and the South Africans have held them to that. So this could go right down to the wire. Nathan Astl's the key at this stage. If they lose him now, they'll be in real strife, I'd say. They've got Chris Harris to come as a good striker of the ball, and Craig McMillan's at the other end. So it's a great contest.
So that goes into the max zone, and you get double the amount of runs if it goes inside that area. So they will run 2. The flags will come up from the referees, and once the flag is raised by the referee, that means double the runs. So 2 runs to Astle off the bat, and then doubled for the max, so he scores 4.
Yeah, you just need 1/6 through the max zone, don't you? And you've got a dozen. Changes the whole concept of the game.
I think from a bowler's perspective, Bruce, if you were hit for a 12 in the first or second delivery of your over, you would be really under pressure.
A few shakes as you're running in, eh?
Trying to let that ball go. But the max zone there to encourage the players to play straight and not just forever swing across the line, particularly for the younger youth groups that take up this type of cricket, this form of cricket, which has been accepted by the ICC. And in the air to mid-wicket, John Kent is there, and a good catch. Nice running catch, and McMillan is the man to go for New Zealand. So South Africa continuing to pour the pressure back onto the New Zealanders.
Well, not smart cricket there from Craig McMillan. There's a man in the deep, so you don't just chip it in the air out there and give him a chance. Gave him plenty of time to run around. Probably 20 or 30 metres in from the fence. So that is something that New Zealand did not need at this stage. McMillan out for a duck. Yeah, he won't be feeling too good about himself at the moment, because you lose a couple of quick wickets here and they're in strife, New Zealand. I rated them pretty highly for this tournament because they're experienced at this game. They kicked it off in New Zealand themselves, and a good all-round side, and that wasn't smart cricket. Matthew Horn is a very good striker of the ball also, so plenty of depth.
So Matthew Horn comes to the crease, but he is at the non-striker's end because the batsman crossed while the ball was in the air, and that puts Nathan Astle back on strike. And chance to run out, should have hit at the bowler's end, and in fact it hit the batsman instead. So South Africans on their toes, as you would expect. They can sniff perhaps what would be an unexpected victory.
Yes, here's Craig McMillan just chipping one. He didn't really try to go over the top. Maybe in his defence he's tried to chip it into the gap and hasn't quite got it right, but just didn't really need that at that stage.
So Horn to face his first delivery. And, well, that's what happens. You get the outside edge, you get the wry smile from the bowler, but there's not much you can do. Dave Callaghan waddling down towards third man. And the match zone doesn't count if the ball goes behind the stumps, so only what the batsman ran, which was 2.
See, just a little bit of bottom hand there from McMillan in that shot. Didn't get hold of it at all.
So another good over. It's consecutive good overs for South Africa. New Zealand, after 6 overs, 49 for 2.
Yes, 6 nines are 54, aren't they? They're just a bit behind the 8 ball.
Maths has always been your strong point, Bruce. So 3 bowlers used. David Townsend has used up his quota of 3 overs. Dave Callaghan will bring himself on now from the commentary box end.
There's 3 good overs from Townsend, wasn't it? 3 overs, 1 for 16. There it is. South Africa 47 for 1. Had a slow start. Really pumped out some runs late. Last few overs. Terrific contest.
And a good shot. So fielding way down there, Mulligan George, who just a young man who bowled today, opened the bowling with David Townsend. What a great experience for some of these youngsters from South Africa. Their 2 major sides are away touring at the moment, and just a bit of a mix and match team, some youngsters from the academy. And was that a chance? Dave Callaghan turned around pretty quickly. Nathan Astle shakes his head to perhaps indicate I was a touch lucky.
Yeah, he's not a natural keeper, is he? I think he's just a fill-in keeper. He snatched at that. But he's had a second go at it. Maybe there was a nick there.
And that's the stand-up double over left field for the baseball fans. That is just the stand in the crease and whack it over mid-wicket for 6. Very strong bottom hand player, Nathan Astle.
Stand and deliver. Just right in the slot for him, though, wasn't it? Just a bit too short in length.
That would add some salt to the wound if the previous delivery was the edge. Good shot. No man at point on the fence, just John Kent inside the circle, and a 6 followed by a boundary. So New Zealand just getting themselves with some momentum, but they have lost a couple of wickets.
Yeah, the last 2 deliveries have just been the length that Nathan Astle likes. Just sitting up at about hip height, bit of width, and he's hit that like a tracer bullet, like a rocket.
Hit that one too hard. Just the man at mid-on in Justin Kemp was able to run in quickly enough to prevent it.
South Africans need a dot ball here, or just to keep it to 1 or a 2. They can't afford another boundary. He's done him with the slow one again.
And he keeps in there. So the dot ball was there, so the end of the over. New Zealand after 7 overs, halfway, 60 for 2.
Just this slower delivery again. Morn van Wyk. So you can see he hasn't done much keeping.
New Zealand has scored
And they'd be a bit sick, I think, the South Africans, if he did a nick on both of those deliveries.
And Horn is on 4.
So Nathan Astle, 44 from 25 deliveries. McMillan out for a duck. Just a single there. Now a change of commentary. Robin Jackman joins me.
Got a good game going on here.
It's terrific.
Very good game, yeah. Just about right on target as far as New Zealand concerned. As you said just now, the loss of Astle would make a tremendous difference to South Africa. I've been very impressed with the way these youngsters have gone about their bowling. They bowled it pretty well. Mulligan George bowled quite quickly, I thought, but just lost his length just a little bit against a very experienced player in Nathan Astle. But all the other youngsters that I've seen bowl to date have pretty much bowled it in the right place anyway.
Yeah, most impressive. Most impressive. Yeah. They've thought about what they've got to do. A little different story from the Pakistanis in the first game. They came out, they didn't have any set plan, did they? South Africans have thought about this, keeping the ball pretty full. They've been punished when they've bowled short.
Tremendous learning curve for them, all very new to them. That's in the air, down the ground. Rendell, the man closing in on it, but not quickly enough. And the ball got a funny bounce where it landed there. I think it just died in the turf and he ran past it.
Maybe he misjudged this, Mike Rendell, because I thought he was just going to swallow the thing and then just pulled up late. Didn't drop all that short, did it?
And the chip shot seems to have been employed this over. One over mid off, one just over mid wicket.
I think the way they're playing this, the New Zealanders, they're looking at, you know, they need 10 and over. They're just going to chip a few twos and a 4 will be bonus, maybe a 6. But not to do anything silly, don't lose any more wickets.
That's a smear down the ground, and can he cut it off before it gets into the max zone? Yes, he does. Mulligan George, the fielder. And just 7 off the over, not bad at all. 67 for 2 New Zealand, 8 overs gone. That just leaves them 10 and over to win, as I work it out, near enough. As you pointed out just now, Bruce, the old 12 helps in those circumstances, doesn't it? Good bowling though. Townsend bowled very nicely, 3 overs for 16. Mulligan George 22 off his 2. This is Callaghan. Again, change of pace from David Callaghan. Very experienced cricketer. Played many limited overs games for Eastern Province. And his share for South Africa as well.
His first over cost him 11, but under normal circumstances, that's a chip for 4, so that's 5 off his first 2 deliveries. But under normal circumstances, you'd say, well, if you go for 10 and over, it's not too bad in this 8's cricket. But when they're only chasing 9, 9.5 and over, need a couple of good ones. Straight in line here. Pay the penalty.
That's well bowled. Yeah, the 11, he went for 11, 2 boundaries in that over, weren't there? 6 and a 4, so bowled the other 4 balls quite well.
Yep.
But boundaries are not affordable with what I would regard a fairly mediocre score of 126. And he smeared that. That's gone miles. Not in the max zone, so he'll only get the orthodox 6 runs.
Yeah, just one too many slow balls, you'll be thinking now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bowled a beauty last delivery, just a bit quicker, that cut back, and then just sat up there and said, hit me. There's nothing on it. Going to bowl a slower ball, it's usually got a drop, but that's just a slow medium pace delivery, and that's got belted way out of the park. Huge hit. So this is very, very costly over for South Africa. Terrific performance from Nathan Astill, 58 from 31 deliveries.
Certainly the key as far as New Zealand are concerned. I think he's actually done enough damage now already, but he won't want to chuck it away. He'd like to be there at the end, and that applies to any form of cricket, whether it be limited overs or whether you've got to go out to knock off a total at the end of a test match. You want to be the man to hit the winning runs.
Desperate for a dot ball here.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to go for a 6 again here. Oh, here we go. That's gone further.
That's actually right over the perimeter fence, so it might take a while to find that one. End of the over, 84 for 2. Good one for New Zealand. Out comes another ball from the 4th umpire over to our left.